This story is called Swinging Low, and it takes place in a place called Southwell in London in 1972. And I will say I, as if, because I'm the narrator of the story. So if I say I in the story, I don't mean me, I mean the narrator of the story. Marissa arrived in England in the big freeze of the 1960s. She was only 13 years old when she flew all those thousands of miles from Jamaica to England. Her parents, Papa Miller and Muma Miller, had left her in Jamaica when she was only 3 years old. I first saw her standing beside the gramophone, wearing a yellow dress, her mouth screwed tight, her eyes uprooted. Okay, that's fine. Her eyes uprooted. The first time I'd heard about Marissa was one day when Mama Miller was cleaning the stairs leading down to the cellar where Papa Miller cut and hammered away, perhaps remembering days of working on the cane field. As she swept the stairs, she was singing the song, "Swing low, sweet chariot, coming forth to carry me home. Swing low, sweet chariot, coming forth to carry me home." One more time. Swing low, sweet chariot, coming forth to carry me home. Swing low, sweet chariot, coming forth to carry me home. That was lovely. So as Mama Miller got down the stairs towards the cellar, she wrenched the door open and said to Papa Miller, "We left her there when she was 3 years old. When are we going to send for her?" And Papa Miller shouted back, "Where do you think we're going to get the money from? The plane ticket is so expensive. Money doesn't grow on trees." And Mama Miller said, "But it's been so long. Children don't grow on trees." That first night, when Marissa arrived, Mama Miller said, "You should go and bed down with Aunt Elmadine downstairs." And Marissa screwed her face up and said, "I'm not going to go and sleep with no Obeya woman." So Marissa had to come with us, the 2 4-year-old twins, Agatha and Albertine, Lorna and me, and squeeze up in our bed. That night, she told us stories of coolie duppies, Indians who broke their backs working on the cane fields back in Jamaica in the Roaring River village. The spirits of these dead men flew so low over the river, trying to find the secret land passages made of ice that were now buried beneath the sea. They flew over the fields in search of their way back home. The way she told this story, with the window rattling from the cold wind, was so frightening that I moved closer to Marissa. Marissa's body was very cold. A few months later, Mama Miller rushed into her room and said, "No school today." And then Uncle Carlton came in his white Zephyr car and took us kids, Papa Miller, Auntie Elmadine, and Mama Miller, and we went to the juvenile court. Marissa had got into trouble again at school. In the car, Marissa scrawled her face, said, who does she think she is? How dare she tell me I can't speak English? And Mama Miller said, Marissa, please tell me what happened, because I need to understand. I need to get it clear in my head so that I can talk to these law people. And Marissa said, who she thinks she is? She tell me I speak bad English. Isn't this the English that I'm talking? Isn't it good English? And she told Mama Miller that the teacher then stepped towards her, and that's when Marissa took a chair and threw it at her. In the juvenile court, we sat on these hard benches as we waited for the case to be called. A woman, stiff in a tweed suit, came and said, your child is a delinquent. But it is our policy to make sure that the child has as much contact as possible with the family, but we are going to take her away. They came a week later, a man bundled in a trench coat and a woman with doughy ankles. They came to the house. I watched from the top of the stairs. Papa Miller stayed in the cellar. Marissa screwed her mouth tight, sucked the air out and said, I'm not going anywhere. Mama Miller moved towards her and touched her nervously and said, everything will be all right. And then she tried to dodge behind Mama Miller. And then she tried to dodge behind Mama Miller, but the man and the woman, they came and took her and pulled her away and took her away. A few months later, there was a report in the newspaper, in the local newspaper, to say, runaway is returned to court. Marissa had used all her creative abilities to duck and to dive and to get lost in the crowd. She never came home. She never came home. Maybe it wasn't her intention to come home, but as soon as she heard the Indian music, she found a Sikh family who took her in. They fed her, they put her to bed with their 4 daughters. She was only 3 miles from home, and the newspaper report wondered how she had got so far with no money, no water, no food.
Nothing.
This time, when she went to court, she tried to tell the judge that she said to the judge, me no one go tracking back to that dirty headmaster. The court didn't understand the things the headmaster had been doing with the girls in his care. It was many years later. I tried to visit Mama Miller every week. One day, a letter arrived from Marissa. This was 20 years after she had left the boarding school. We hadn't heard from her in 20 years. And in the letter, she said, Mama Miller, I waited for you in Roaring River in Jamaica. You left me there when I was 3 years old. Every day I waited. Why didn't you come for me? Why didn't you come for me? I saw all these women who worked in the cane fields going home to their children, but I had no one to come for me. You never sent me any money. Rosalita said, you never sent me a penny. And she made me sleep in the pantry amongst the ashes. Sometimes, some nights, I would run and cross the river and go and sleep on the wooden cots that in the plantation that the coolies used to sleep on. Mama Miller couldn't read the rest of the letter. Her hand was shaking as she put it down on the table. She was silent for a long time. After some time, she got up and went to the larder to get the biscuit tin. And from the tin, she took out all these postal order stubs, which were going yellow from age. And she showed me, and she said, every week for 8 years, I sent her 10 shillings. I sent Rosalita 10 shillings for Marissa's upkeep. I would never leave my child. I never wanted to leave my child, but Papa Miller said it was too tough to bring children to England. It was too tough to make it here with a child. And then a cold inflation started in my lungs, and I gasped because I immediately wanted to go and find Marissa, my sister. And as the sadness washed over me, the snowflakes were flowing down against the window.